Hey, what's up guys? Welcome to another lesson here. This one is all about this baby right here. This is the 3-string shovel guitar. This is my signature 3-string shovel guitar. And in this lesson, I'm going to go into basically as much detail as I've ever gone into this instrument here for you guys. Also get to answer any questions you guys might have while we're watching live if you guys are here in the chat. And started out playing, you know, just a little Delta blues on it. And, you know, that's what this thing, it's got 3 strings. It's basically a 3-string guitar. The platform of the guitar is basically the shovel, which, you know, I think at first it catches people's attention, but it also seems like, well, you know, it's kind of a weird object maybe to make into a guitar. But I'm also going to tell you a lot about what is really interesting about the shovel, in the sense that it's an object that almost was, you know, dying to be made into a guitar. There's a lot of really cool things about it tonally that through the years and through designing my signature shovel guitar, I just really came to respect about it and found really fascinating. In addition to that, I'm going to, you know, talk about a lot of the playing techniques and the things you can do to really play the shovel well, and how it sort of informs your playing as a guitar player. So we're going to dig into it. There's going to be plenty of puns probably as we go, so just fair warning on that also. But so, you know, I started putting out these shovel guitars, building them. After my Cranking It Up video went viral, and you know, people just started asking me, will you build me one? Where can I get one? And in the process of doing that, you know, I'd built guitars before, but I really, you know, had to go into how to make this the best possible instrument that it could be. And there's some really cool things about the shovel here, or specifically, it's a garden spade, but you know, what's nice about it is, for one, even though it's got a you know, a really thin body compared to like an electric guitar or something like that, the fact that it is like, and I found this to be true with almost every tool. I've played a lot of different tool guitars where it'll be an axe, or like an axe handle, or, you know, a shovel or something like that. but tools are made out of the like super dense material, and this is tempered steel on the blade. It's a hardwood, or I guess this is probably pine for the neck, and it resonates like crazy. It's got killer sustain. There's nothing that I've played that actually sustains longer than like tempered steel, and maybe brass or something like that. But it's a very dense metal. And so what happens is, even though it's very thin and very light, it has that kind of sustain. You really, I mean, even like something like a Les Paul or like a really dense, really big chunk of wood for a lap steel, hardly ever get that kind of sustain out of it. And so what it allows you to do is play these vocal lines and really carry those lines through like a long phrase. So you hear how those notes just continue to linger and linger. And that's one of the things that is really just essential to what sort of makes the shovel guitar unique from all other types of roots instruments and from other types of guitars. Another thing is that this is 3 strings, and you know, like last week I did a lesson on 3-stringed instruments, and I've got this tuned up. I've got it strung up with the 5th, 4th, and 3rd string from a standard pack of strings. That's the A, D, and G string. And I generally, almost always tune it to an open G, so it's G, D, G. And but there's no frets on there. Like this is just the shovel handle here, and you can see the action is, I don't know, it's probably a little less than a half an inch. It's very much like a lap steel, and you can actually play this like a lap steel as well. I've got it with the guitar strap right now, so I'm playing it like a guitar. But my point is that it's not designed to be fretted. You don't push the frets down. Everything you're going to play on it is with the slide right here. So, you know, again, like a lap steel, the action is high, and it's designed to be that way because when you're playing like a guitar with frets and you're playing slide on it, one of the biggest challenges is that if you push the strings in too hard, if you push that slide in too hard against the strings, you're going to hit the frets because there's only a tiny bit of distance between the frets on a standard guitar and the string. So on the shovel, because you have all that room right there, you have one advantage, which is that you're never going to push too hard and hit a fret. But one of the things you have to be very aware of and be present to is that when you push this is the same with the lap steel as well. When you push the strings down, you're essentially bending the strings. So check this out. Let me see if I can get an angle on it. So if I hit this chord, but I push it down, you're literally bending the string and you're raising the pitch when that happens. So that's one of the things too I'm going to go into is basically it teaches you how to have a very light touch, and that's one of the keys to learning how to play slide on any type of instrument. And it's you know, particularly important on lap steels and on shovel guitars because of that high action. And again, you know, you can play it just like a lap steel. If I were to play it down here, and it's great. You can play anything. You can play basically as a guitar like this on the shovel. You can play on your lap too. So again, it kind of is a great way to learn both slide and lap steel. Another advantage to it compared to, let's say, learning slide on a 6-string guitar is, for one, when you have less strings, you don't have to mute as many strings. And muting, whether it's left-hand muting over here or right-hand muting over here, basically is the art of of dampening strings to avoid unwanted noise. So if it's a string you're not using, you generally have to mute it when you're playing slide or lap steel. With the shovel guitar, because it's 3 strings, it's nice that you still have to learn how to do that, but you don't have to learn how to do it on as many strings at once. And a lot of what you can do is play all 3 strings. Where right here, I'm just playing, let's say, a slide from the 2nd fret to the 4th fret on the high string, but I'm plucking all 3 strings here. And let's say I go up from the 4th to the 7th, same thing. And then from the 7th to the 12th. I can do that and it creates this really lush sound. And this is the way a lot of the early Delta blues players and a lot of the early hill country blues players, a lot of early folk blues, a lot of early blues in general was it was played by people who were playing an open tuning, which means all of the strings on the guitar were tuned to a chord, and then the melody notes were on the high strings. There's a lot of my favorite, Mississippi Fred McDowell songs like this, like You Gotta Move. It's that hill country style and that kind of Delta blues style combined. Again, it's like that. I just kind of consider it early blues, early like Mississippi blues. And a lot of those musicians, almost all of them, started out on homemade instruments. So they're having to learn how to play the slide again, because it's not so hard to just attach a string to something as it is to fret an instrument and have it fully intonated. With the fretboard and everything like that. So, a lot of these people, when they'd play on homemade instruments and learn on homemade instruments, they would have to learn slide by necessity. And what they were doing is they were mimicking the vocal melodies of the songs they were singing. So again, when Mississippi Fred McDowell was singing You Gotta Move, that's like on the high string here, open, 3rd, 5th, 7th. You gotta move. And then you get this kind of vibrato that you can't get on a fretted instrument. You can only get it with the slide. Where you come up to the note on from 5 to 7 to 7, and then you anchor back here with your thumb. You keep your thumb on the back of the neck. And you just slide up. Look at that. Look at the back of the neck here. I'm going 5. Leaving my thumb where it is on the 5th fret. And then getting the vibrato from the movement of my forearm, basically. And again, when you're doing this, what you want to do is these, instead of frets, on the shovel guitar, there are fret markers. And then there's 3 of them that are painted on. And so that gets you up to the 12th fret, basically. And that's 1 octave. So let me zoom in a little bit here and just show you, basically you have the fret markers just like you would on a lap steel. So you don't fret them, but they do give you a visual indication of where the notes are. Just like you would have on any kind of fretless guitar, you generally have those visual indicators. The thing that's important to do, though, with an instrument like this, a fretless instrument, is that when you're playing it, and I recommend attaching, like I've got a chromatic tuner right here. It tells me all the notes, all the sharps, all the flats. Make sure you have a chromatic tuner. And when you're playing, first of all, you want to tune it. Again, I'm in open G tuning, so it's G, D, G, G, and G. And when you try to fret a note, you try to slide and you hit a note. So let's go to that again on the high string. Let's go from the second to fourth. Okay, now freeze. This is what you want to do when you're learning slide in general. But when you're trying to learn how to visually get your cues on the shovel guitar, you want to slide up to where you think the note is, and then freeze, and then check the tuner. So the tuner will tell you here, let me zoom in. The tuner will tell you if you're sharp or flat. Okay, there's flat. There's sharp. Oh, now you're in. So now you want to freeze and say, okay, when I'm in playing position, even though it looks like, visually, it looks like my slide is a little bit behind the fret marker, when I come up here, I can see, oh, it's actually centered perfectly over the fret marker, but because my line of sight is coming from a diagonal perspective, it makes me feel like visually I'm behind the fret marker. This happens a lot with any kind of guitar, any kind of slide playing, but when the action's higher, sometimes it can be a little more extreme. So you can check yourself with the tuner, or you can have, if you have a chromatic tuner pedal, just leave it on, and while you're playing, just freeze. Say, okay, that D is right in tune right there. Now it's flat. Another thing it'll help you do is, as I mentioned before, if you push the string in too hard, you're essentially bending the string, and it could go sharp. So I could be in the perfect spot right there, and look at the tuner again. And again, this is the case with any kind of lap steel playing, any kind of slide playing. But when you hit the note and it's in tune, there it is, the D, and then I push it in, I'm almost up to a D sharp now, even though I haven't moved the slide out of position. So again, that is why the shovel guitar kind of, it's sort of like a personal trainer for learning slide with the best possible technique, because it prevents you from being too aggressive. You'll hear it if you're too aggressive. If you grip that, neck and you just push in, you're going to be playing too sharp. And so it's good to check yourself with the tuner. And what you end up getting is this delicate touch with the slide. And that's what gives you the most vocal quality to your playing. It gives you the most control, and it just has, when you hear like a blues singer or like a soul singer or gospel singer, which is, again, I think where all of that early slide playing comes from mimicking those gospel singers and those blues singers. And so when you hear them, they have a fluid and a loose and it's not tight, it's not uptight, and it's not tense. It's very fluid, and it's like an emotional release, and it should feel that way. But so again, a lot of that on slide guitar comes down to having a very controlled, but a very relaxed and a very fluid and smooth, stress-free playing style. To control it, it all really lies in what's going on behind the neck. So you can have good fluid motion on the strings, but you need to have an anchor going on back here. Your thumb needs to be touching the back of the shovel there. And if I'm sliding from like this, from 5 to 7, a lot of times I will have my anchor back here. My thumb is anchored back there. But when I slide up, my thumb doesn't actually move. If I'm going further up the fretboard, my thumb will move, but that anchor point allows me to also come back to the 5th really easily. Here. So that's how, you hear certain slide players that can really quickly move between notes up and down the fretboard. And a lot of it has to do with these anchor points, really giving them this physical feel on the fretboard, so they know if I start here, I can move back because my thumb is anchoring those motions. If the thumb was loosely going up and down the fretboard with the slide, you're kind of getting wild when you go fast because you hit down here and the momentum and the weight of your hand, it just pushes you too far. So like when I'm playing the 3rd and 5th fret, which is a lot of important notes down there, my thumb is resting basically a little bit behind the 3rd fret marker right here, basically on the 2nd fret. So I can easily play the 3rd fret, I can reach up to the 5th, I can slide down from the 6th to the 5th. But I'm continuing to keep all of that anchored here with my thumb right behind the 3rd fret, basically. So that's a big key, and a lot of times you look at slide players like Dwayne Allman, which there isn't like a ton of video footage of him, but you can see a lot of times his thumb is back here is stretched out. He'll go up to the 12th fret a lot of times, and he'll play all of these notes with his thumb staying in place. And that's kind of where I started when I was learning slide, watching stuff like that, or like Derek Trucks, does the similar kind of thing. And it's like, that's where the control comes from. And not only is it controlling your position on the fretboard up and down, but it's also helping you not push in too hard. And so you're not bending those notes out of pitch. You're not going sharp by pushing the slide too far in. You're feeling the distance between your thumb and the slide. And it just feels nice. Eventually you have this, there's this feel of it that you can kind of lightly just move that slide up and down the string without pushing in too hard. That's a little technique that I love doing. The shovel does particularly well because, again, of the sustain you get from the tempered steel body. You hit a 12th fret harmonic, and you do that just by touching your finger lightly against the 12th fret. And then you can carry that harmonic if you just barely just start the slide right at the nut and carry it up. I like to end songs like that a lot of time, Something you can do with the shovel guitar that you cannot do with any other instrument that I've played is you can play the top string without in a ways that do not interfere with the other strings. So if there's a flat fretboard, like this, you always kind of have to play parallel to that fretboard with your slide. You have to lay the slide at the same angle as the fretboard. With the shovel guitar, because of the round back, you can actually tilt your slide up And so while you're playing with the two low strings as a rhythm accompaniment to your playing, you can very easily play melodies on the top string without worrying about hitting the other two strings. So that's something I do on like my Cranking It Up song, where I'm playing this rhythm. So I kind of get this going, and then I play a melody on the top strings. You notice when I do this chord, I'm going up to the 5th fret, but then, that's when I start to move my slide parallel on all 3 strings. But until then, I'm playing like this diagonally. That kind of thing, and also the space between the strings. It makes riffs like this it makes it a lot easier than if you were to play that on a 6 string, because the spacing of the strings is a lot wider. It's almost like a bass guitar, or even wider. So you can do that's almost like a slap bass line, which you try playing slap bass on the guitar, and the thing you always find as a challenge is that the strings are so close together. You can't dig in with those slap bass kind of techniques like you can on the shovel guitar. Like that. And so again, the advantage, even though you're playing an instrument that has less strings, the advantages that the shovel guitar gives you allows you to play these things that you think like, well, like where did that come from? Where did that technique come from? And it's because, if you play an instrument like this and you listen to what the instrument has to give you, that's what I did for years on the road. As I'd play shows, people would bring these homemade instruments out to me, and they could have any number of strings. They could be built out of anything, really. And one of the things that I would always do is I would get the guitar, and the first thing I would do is I would play a few notes. I would kind of listen to it. I would feel it, and then I would think, what does this guitar do that no other guitar can do? And what is special about it? What unique qualities will make this sound cool, because you can't do this on any other instrument. And so, Cranking It Up, when I played that, it was just an improvisation that I played. I was making it up. But it's that same kind of thing. It's like I started it's almost like surfing, where you let the momentum of it go and you just stay balanced. And the whole time it's trying to play to the strengths of the instrument that you've got in your hands. And so again, after then, making so many of these, and, I still build all of these one at a time when I sell them. It's really awesome to kind of dig in and choose each part and really make it an instrument that is not just like a novelty instrument. I try to make them professionally. All the gear on them is professional. The scale length, the string height, the way it feels in your hands, even down to like, this guitar, like building shovel guitars, taught me how much I love metal as a tonal material, both for nuts, for bridges, and for bodies too. And I've played a few guitars also that they'll hide like a brass block in the body or something like that. And it's like, why does this guitar have this tone that reminds me of the shovel guitar in some way or something? And it's because of that dense material. When the strings are held by such dense material, the resonance doesn't like die down. It kind of reinvigorates the strings again. The strings just keep vibrating. It doesn't like deaden the vibration of the strings the way wood does, and that's why you always try to get a hardwood to be a good tone wood, or to have a good sustain. It's because it doesn't like kill the vibration of the strings like a sponge, you know what I mean? it just continues to let that string excite. And so it's just always, always interesting what you can learn from these types of instruments. Let me talk too about, because it is really good, just the way you can learn slide on the shovel. You can learn lap steel the same way, and it's really cool how much this is like a lap steel. It's actually, I'd say, more like a lap steel than a guitar, and that's mainly because it's fretless, and lap steels just don't have frets, bottom line. The difference is in the way you play it. There's a little bit of a technique difference, but I always encourage anyone who plays slide to try to learn how to play lap steel also. They're not that far off, and the right hand technique is almost identical. So with the right hand, instead of playing like this, you basically just do the exact same thing, but tilt your hand down. So it's a lot easier on the right hand to make the transition from playing guitar into playing lap steel. But again, it's kind of nice to transition to lap steel on something like the shovel guitar, because for one, it has that sustain like a lap steel. Lap steels are generally a solid piece of wood, a very dense piece of wood, and they have a lot better sustain than most guitars do, because guitars have to have a thinner neck and that sort of thing. But this gives you that nice lap steel sustain. Also, again, you get the benefits of the strings being a little wider apart, and you get the benefit of there only being 3 strings. So what you do differently is when you're holding it, I take my slide, like I never use a tone bar when I play lap steel. I just use my signature slide, the same ceramic slide that I always use when I play the guitar. The difference is what you do when you're holding the tone bar here. Let me zoom in a little bit so you can see. Is you basically put this slide or tone bar, whatever you're using, under your index finger. See that? And it kind of replaces your index finger, and it feels like you're playing with your index finger. And what you're doing here, you're holding it with these 3 fingers, like a little triangle. The thumb, the index on top, and then the middle finger on the side. And I like to put my tip of my finger about where the slide ends. And so back here, you're muting with these 2 fingers. By muting, I mean you're just holding those down to deaden the strings, because you don't want a lot of noise behind the slide. Also, when you lay the slide down, you don't want it to slam against there and make a lot of noise. So that helps to kill a lot of that noise back there. And you're also using, just like how you were using your thumb to anchor behind the neck, like this, you're using these 2 fingers to anchor where you are with the slide. So you can do that, going from like the 3rd fret to the 5th. See how these fingers kind of stretch out sometimes? That helps you. It helps you move between notes and come back quickly if you're going to. But you just get a nice different feel, and it'll become natural to just rest your fingers back here. And so again, when you're doing like vibrato, these 3 fingers move, these 2 anchor. There's some other techniques in there that are easier on the shovel, just like how you were tilting the slide before to get it out of the way of the other strings. You can tilt up like this with the lap steel approach here, and I can have those bottom 2 strings open, and now I'm anchoring with just the 1 finger here. See, Jimmy M asked a question here. Do you ever use the shovel with a clean tone and no distortion? And yeah, all the time. I love the clean tone of the shovel. And one of the nice things too is with the pickup that I designed for the shovel guitar. And actually, this is pretty much the same pickup that I just released for the 6-string guitars. My signature 6-string guitar pickup is based on the design that I've kind of modified and perfected over the years for the shovel guitar. It's pretty much the exact same pickup, and I love the tone, I love the output. And what's nice about it as far as clean versus distorted tone is that the volume knob really is like your distortion knob. So if you get, I like to get sort of a grungy tone. If you play hard with the volume all the way open, you can get that kind of like cranking it up tone. You dial that back a little bit, and it's more like almost like a single coil, but it's a lot less distorted. And you can get those great, again, it's all about those vocal lines for me on the shovel. And that's something that, again, with that long sustain that you get, and with the fact that it's got this G, it's actually, like the G string from a 6-string pack. It's the fattest unwound string from the 6-string pack. So you get the nice glassy vocal smooth tone. It got that sustain. And it with clean tone and with some reverb, like, there's just nothing like it. I'm going to add a little reverb here. Let's see. Get the